Hi, I'm Matthias Thiemann. I'm an Associate Professor of European Public Policy at Sciences Po, the Center for European Studies. And today I would like to speak about a paper I have recently published with Etienne Lepers from the City University London in the journal Regulation and Governance. Today, in a time of rising interest rates, we're observing the popping of several real estate bubbles in Europe, in particular in Germany. House prices are coming down and potentially dragging down with them the entire economy. Now, in Europe, after the last financial crisis, we have installed an anti-cyclical system of regulation that was supposed to act against these house price bubbles. And it's exactly the functioning of this system that we investigate in this paper. Etienne and I, we were aware of the big political resistance to intervene in such bubbles because as these bubbles inflate, pretty much everybody's benefiting. The homeowners, the governments, and even the banks. And so we wanted to know, looking at the housing bubbles between 2013 and 2020 in Europe, which configurations of actors under which contexts were actually capable of doing something about housing bubbles. Well, in this research is very based on a database that Etienne Lepers has built, based on prior databases of the European Systemic Risk Board, where Etienne has worked before. And so what he did was he coded the intensity of measures taken for all the countries that have actually undergone a housing boom in Europe between 2013 and 2020. So these were 18 countries. We looked at these countries and investigated which factors best predict the reaction of these authorities towards the housing boom. We find in essence, first of all, that the experience of the financial crisis in 2008 is not really a good predictor for action. And that was surprising to us because we thought that if a country went through a deep housing bust, they would actually act faster. What we do find is that when independent central banks are put in charge of these policies, we do actually see a reaction which is rather strong and rather swift. On the other hand, if politicians are put in charge, we pretty much see no reaction to such housing booms. The most interesting finding for me was that in between politicians and central banks, there's a new construct that is called financial stability councils, where politicians and central bankers meet and discuss if and in how far they should act. And in these councils, for these councils, we found that if the salience of housing was not overly high, we would observe some action. However, we also find that these actors are very slow and their measures are rather limited, not up to the challenge of the quickly escalating housing bubbles in the 2010s. And so our recommendations are either reduce the salience of housing by installing large public housing programs and thereby allow financial stability councils to be able to act, or hand over the power to take these measures to independent central banks.